if there is any difference in your experience between people who are labeled as millennials and Gen Zs.
As millennials, we are okay to wait and earn a promotion. We're okay to wait and earn a reward. However, I think Gen Zs don't have that patience. I've done it. You still haven't appreciated me.
Some of these people at late 20s, they are already managers.
Yep.
They're team leads or managers. So how do the Gen Z managers, when they become managers, don't they get into planning, or how do they overcome that?
That you become a team lead or a manager, the moment you take on attributes of being a millennial, meaning you learn a little bit more patience, you learn to appreciate the things around you, you learn to be able to handle things with that little patience that you have. The moment that comes across, I think that's what they label as maturity as well. We no longer want to wait till I hit 50 to become a CEO. I want to become a CEO today. How do I do that? I'm 25. I can't wait till I'm 28 as well. So I think that is definitely going to happen. Along with it, there will be a lot of innovation and there will be a lot of failures.
Do you want to become a manager? Because then you may lose your Gen Z hood. Hi guys, welcome to my channel, The Missing Link with Amit. Now we are on to our season 3, and the theme for the season 3 is Leadership Styles, Craft Your Own. So I have a wonderful guest today in Krithika Sivanesan. Krithika, welcome to my show, and thank you very much for finding the time to come in. I know it's a long distance for you to cover, but you have also covered many other long distances. Let me introduce Krithika to you. Krithika has over 17 years of experience in HR. She's an HR leader and handled the entire gamut of hire to retire life cycle and leading organizations globally. She worked in India and the UK across various industries and companies like Mercedes-Benz, Continental Automotive, Minibia in Tech, Leeboy, etc. Krithika completed her BTech in engineering and later pursued an MBA from the University of Bradford, UK. She also worked hard to gain a diploma in human resource management from XLRI Jamshedpur. So she has all the pedigree that you need for experience, but she has also, on top of all that, more than almost 2 decades of experience in actually being a practicing leader. And that's why I invited Krithika here, because she can then share, what she has been practicing as a leader, for example, right, Krithika? Oh, I must also mention that beyond obviously being a people person, Krithika is a big Talavar fan, Rajnikant fan. She has also been a MasterChef finalist. She's a badminton enthusiast, and probably very significantly, she's a mother of 2 wonderful young ladies. Are they Gen Zs?
No.
Not yet.
No,
Gen Alpha.
Yeah, Alpha and Beta.
Okay, wonderful. So you have some more time to actually, practice managing Gen Zs at home.
Yes.
Wonderful. Krithika, tell me your first thoughts. How do you feel coming on this? I know you have been on the television for a long time, but this is probably a different domain. But it is part of your working domain in a way. How do you feel being on such a show?
I mean, thank you. I'm grateful for this opportunity as well, Amit. I've done a lot of podcasts, but doing it with you makes it more special for me as well.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. So let me ask you, what in your view is the difference between a millennial and Gen Z? Because these terms are very new to me.
Okay.
Oh, let me also share that I never took this label seriously. I always considered them kind of American labels, far from 15,000 kilometers away. But then a few of our viewers sent some messages to us saying that, Amit, why don't you do some episodes on managing millennials and Gen Zs? Of course, millennials can be managing millennials and Gen Zs, or it could be the Gen X managing millennials and Gen Zs. So you are a millennial manager who is every day managing millennials and Gen Zs.
Yeah.
So that is why this topic actually, right? But yet, I would like to understand for myself if there is any difference in your experience between people who are labeled as millennials and Gen Zs.
For sure, definite, Amit.
Okay.
There's a huge difference between both of them. First of all, I am a millennial myself, so I can relate to a lot of the millennials that I'm managing as a part of this job or the previous ones, as to how I can relate to them. It's much more easier for me because I understand the mindset and everything. However, Gen Z is a whole new segment that I have learned over a period of time to be able to master that and see how I can get work done from them. I think one huge differentiating factor, I think, is patience.
Okay.
I
And
think,
who has more?
the fast-paced environment that they have grown up in
You
versus
mean the Gen Zs?
a little more cooler environment that the millennials were,
Yeah, relatively.
exposed to. I think that is the huge differentiating factor. So
Okay.
we've learned to wait for certain things.
Right,
As millennials,
right.
we are okay to wait and earn a promotion. We're okay to wait and earn a reward, earn and even if it's an appreciation or a pat on the back.
Right.
However, I think Gen Zs don't have that patience. I've done it. You still haven't appreciated me.
No.
So that patience is what is lacking in them. But maybe as a manager, it's in our responsibility as well to understand what are the differences
Exactly the reason I wanted you to share your experience.
and to be able to adapt to that as well. So if there is a person who is a millennial, after the call, you can wait, may go on to a one-on-one call with them and tell them, hey, you did a fantastic job in the presentation. I'm super proud of you. And believe me, they'll be on the top of the world. However, when you are in talking to a millennial, it's got to be on the call, along with all of them. Either whether it's a client or it's the senior
You mean
management.
when
or
you are
whatever.
with the Gen Zs, you have to do it on the call.
Yeah.
Right,
You have
right.
to appreciate them. Otherwise, it's got to be a phone call just after the presentation saying, oh, you did a great job. And even then, they would ask, why didn't you tell that in the call? So it's for them, it's more about vanity and more about presentation and a little
that
bit of
brings
less
me,
patience
Krithika,
as well.
to a question that actually I asked one of my other guests for another episode in the same season three team which is that are the Gen Zs in a frenzy, or is it the people around the Gen Zs who are in a frenzy, including their parents? So how would you respond to that?
I think both of us are. I have.
You mean the Gen Zs as
Yeah,
well as
as
the
well as
people
the
around?
millennials. They are in a different world of frenzy, and we are in a different world of frenzy.
Okay.
How to manage that frenzy from
Okay.
them? So I think starting from the language to the way they address and the way they want to be treated at home versus office is completely different approach.
Oh, that's something
However,
new.
we will have to
I mean,
manage that.
What is this? They want to be treated differently at home as opposed to work, or similarly?
No. I mean, I'm saying as a mother as well.
Yeah.
If you were to have some Gen Z crowd at home, the expectation from them also is different.
Okay.
As opposed to a millennial population that you would be hosting.
Okay.
So whether it's work or home,
Uh-huh.
I think the expectations from them is completely different.
Would you like to venture as to the why the Gen Zs expect differently?
I think it all boils down to the way they've
You mean the
been
Insta
brought up, right? Like that. Yeah,
gratification,
exactly. And everything needs to happen now.
Okay.
Best example is Blinkit. I don't think we had that when we were growing up.
That's true,
right?
absolutely. Yeah.
So for them, everything is like now.
Okay.
There's no waiting. There's no you earn for something, you wait for it, and then when you achieve it, the kind of joy you get when you do that. I don't think this Generation X or the Generation Z don't really, understand that. It's because they want to do it now. There's no that yearning for it, waiting for it, and then achieving it. So it's got to happen now. I want to study, I want to do it now.
Okay.
There's no okay, let me gain some experience. Let me see how I can put that
So
experience
is it that
into
they've not really gone into this aspect of planning for something?
So more so like that. So
Yeah.
even then, the plans have to be ready-made. Right? So it's got to be somebody who would have fed it into the internet.
So
I'll just download it.
Yeah, so when a Gen Z, and I guess the Gen Zs, as far as the label is concerned, can extend up to late 20s,
Yep.
okay, right? Or touching into 30s, something like that. I can never remember all these years of birth. Some of these people in late 20s, they are already managers.
Yep.
They're team leads or managers, right?
Yes.
So as a manager, at least for my generation, I'm this old crazy baby boomer by this labeling. So for me, the first thing a manager has to do is have a plan.
Yep.
Okay, of course, have a goal, and because of which you have a plan. So how do the Gen Z manager, when they become managers, okay, young managers maybe, but team leads, managers, whatever label, don't they get into planning, or how do they overcome that?
Okay, I might have a different school of thought, but
Yeah.
however, I feel that you become a team lead or a manager the moment you take on attributes of being a millennial, meaning you learn a little bit more patience. You learn to appreciate the things around you. You learn to be able to handle things with that little patience that you have. The moment that comes across, I think that's what the label is maturity as well. And once you get that, you automatically become a team lead or a manager. So when, ironically saying, when Gen Z loses the attitude of a Gen Z, they become a manager.
Lovely. Wow. I think that is something very, very critical, not only for the Gen Z viewers, but also for, the millennial managers. I think at least they will kind of have a sigh of relief. And for the Gen Xers, for example, I think they will also kind of sit back a little bit. Okay, that means this Gen Z frenzy is a temporary phenomenon. Yeah, that's what you are saying.
Until they become managers.
Yeah.
But again, as I'm saying, they are now getting a taste of themselves, right? Like they have to handle people who have been them right now.
That reminds me when I used to be in school, and one of the smartest teachers, the tricks they used to play was, take the baddest boy in the class and make him the monitor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is similar to what you are saying. The Gen Z who wants to become a manager won't remain a Gen Z anymore. They have to become they have to gain the millennial attributes. Beautifully.
I think for me, the more hypothetical example would be being a mother, right? The moment you become a parent, now you really realize how much you have actually tortured your parents. Right? Somewhere along the line, you come to the realization and say, oh, this is what I've been doing.
Oh my God.
Have I? Oh my God. Now I have to really pay back for that time to my parents. So something like that. Like once you become a manager and you start managing a set of people, you realize, is this what I have been doing to my manager? And then slowly that sense of gratitude comes along with a lot of maturity and a patience as well. So that helps you mold yourself into a better person. At least that's how I believe.
That takes me back to, probably one of the last chapters of my own book that I published now more than 10 years back, where actually I tried to draw parallels between a manager and a parent.
Okay.
And I think a basic premise was this, that both managers and parents are doomed to fail.
Oh, yeah.
Because, when you become a manager, you have no training to be a manager.
Yeah.
You were trained to do something, in today's terms, what you call an IC.
Yeah.
And similarly, because before you become a parent, you have not got any training as to how to become. There is no MBA program in managing people or parenting. MBA is not about management, it's business administration. I would, like to address my Gen Z friends over there with this question. Do you want to become a manager? Because then you may lose your Gen Z hood, as Krithika explained. And also to my millennial viewers, I would say, that don't lose heart, or the Gen Xers primarily, because the boomers are already disappearing from organizational life. So, don't lose heart. The Gen Zs who will become managers, they will become more like millennials, right?
Yeah. They will soon realize what they are supposed to, and probably that will make your life a little bit more easy.
Yeah. Great. So, I think you answered a lot of my thoughts that were kind of, there in my mind. But let me take you back more to you a little bit for a minute. For example, how long have you been managing or leading people in organizations? From a role point of view?
Primarily since 2007.
So which has been some good time now.
Yeah, I think
17 years, 15 years plus.
17
right?
plus years.
Yes, great. And when did you first realize that you are not only a manager but also a leader?
I think the first couple of years is when I got that realization, is because primarily when I was working in the UK, I was dealing not just with Indian population.
Right.
I was dealing with a set of population who were primarily British and still had the feeling that they were ruling over us. And at 5:01, I'm no longer their manager. I'm a brown-skinned person for them. So it took me a lot of courage to be able to overcome that and say that I am still going to get the job done from you. And if I have to do that, I can't be a manager anymore. Because I can be a manager if there's a set of things that are in place and if everything is going right or wrong. Now I have to deal with nationalities, I have to deal with racism, I have to deal with each and every personality as a different person. Because that's the expectation from my director at that point.
Right.
So it was very important for me to establish that in myself at that point in time. So I think very early, again, I was like very young, living on my own in the UK, experiencing this kind of resistance. I think those are the things that molded me to becoming a leader. And from there on, I think I've had excellent mentors and guides throughout my career journey. Thank you to each and every one of them. Like, every time I fail, I realize that's a learning stone for me, right?
So let me ask you another question. In the context of our topic, millennials and managing millennials or Gen Zs and Gen Zs. So can you be Krithika, the real one, when you are managing millennials and Gen Zs, or you have to be different Krithikas?
I think very early on in my life, I've learned this concept as well, called surface acting. I don't know if you've come across that. That is an essential part of.
You can share it for our viewers in short a little bit.
It's nothing but what an air hostess does when you enter a flight. No matter what, I've had a fight with my husband, or I've had a really bad situation, or when I came, there was somebody who really irritated me. I have to put on a smile the moment I set foot in the aircraft.
So that's what in psychology they call it the constructed self.
Exactly. So another alternate term is the surface acting. So once you come in, I have to greet you with a smile, no matter what my mood is. I can't let it reflect on my face. So I think what we have as people is like this innate personality and then this put-up personality that you have.
So my question, Krithika, is how many layers, or if I just bring in a quantitative aspect to it, it exactly doesn't happen like that, but if you're dealing with Gen Zs as opposed to millennials or Gen Xs, do you need more layers to deal with which of these labeled cohorts?
Honestly speaking, I think for all of them, you need a different layer, because from your personal self to your corporate world, it's completely different. And none of them would believe if I said I was an introvert, because I am as an innate personality, but I've been practicing extrovertism for so long.
Yes.
That now it comes so naturally to me that people don't believe that I'm not an extrovert. So that is the context of it.
I fully understand that, but this is not about me, so I can fully, understand this.
So I think for every person, there is a different maybe hat or a mask that you wear, but you have to wear it. I think that's definitely true.
So I think for the viewers, what I would suggest that is, if you accept what Krithika just now shared, that you have to wear a different hat, you have to wear a mask, okay? It's not about actually losing yourself. It's about that you use these different hats, let me put it, for example, or mask or kind of films, whatever you say, for different people, because that's about leadership, isn't it?
Managing different personalities requires you to adapt to different personalities.
I mean, it's like, you are a violinist, okay? And you're playing the violin in an ensemble which is, say, about Carnatic music. As opposed to that, the same violinist, you are also playing, for example, in a rock concert. Or you are playing with a group of, because I'm a Bengali, so you're singing, playing with people singing the Rabindra Sangeet. Okay. So obviously you have to play the violin differently, but you're still the same violinist.
Okay. So I'd say very related to say the music genre, right? Like it's the same music, it's the same swaras and everything else. But if the occasion is happy, the violin will give out happy notes.
Absolutely.
And when it's a little sadder song or something, the same violin will give out sadder notes, same notes.
Absolutely.
But it's the tone that comes out, right? So similarly,
how you render.
So that I think that's the minute difference that
Absolutely. Let me kind of, go a little bit, step into the future part of it. Now, these labels, which as I mentioned in the beginning, that I did not take them so seriously, but then I realized, no, it is serious. It's reality today happening in our country, at least in the society we live in, for example. The people who are today labeled as Gen Zs or millennials, particularly the younger part of the millennials, right, like including you, they will be the cohort that will be leading my country, okay, into what, let's say, our political leadership talks about the Viksit Bharat. Whether it happens by 47 or by 37, I won't be there anyway. So, I won't be leading. I won't be contributing. Maybe the Gen X today also will be already like where I am today. They will be the baby boomers of 15 years hence, for example, right? And so my question to you is that what kind of challenges these Gen Zs or the millennials, younger millennials, have to face to become the leaders of the after tomorrow?
As I said, you'll just have to be prepared for that scenario of leading. And I think over a period of time, you will get that experience, and you are going to be sharing that dais along with some of the leaders who are going to be much younger. I think the influx of younger leaders into organizations, into politics, into smaller groups, into a lot of startups that are coming, which means that you have CEOs who are much younger, like hardly hitting 30s, and this new trend of 30 under 30 and 40 under 40 being a huge trend. People want to do everything so fast. Again, it draws back to the same point of patience, right? We no longer want to wait till I hit 50 to become a CEO. I want to become a CEO today. How do I do that? I'm 25. I can't wait till I'm 28 as well. So I think that is definitely going to happen. Along with it, there will be a lot of innovation and there will be a lot of failures. People will fall and learn, but eventually I think they will learn. And as a whole community as well, we are going to have to be a part of that social experiment, whether we like it or not.
How important is the role that you play for your company, in your organization, okay, as a middle manager, top manager, CEO, startup founder, managing director? Because you can be all these things even if you are a Gen Z or a millennial. But what is the role of this role that you have to play that makes a Gen Z, just to use the terms again, kind of graduate into millennials, or maybe the millennial graduate into a Gen X? What role this responsibility plays, the daitva, the kartavya of a role?
Until you show the potential, you're not going to fill that box eventually.
Absolutely.
It is not going to make you ready.
Right.
But I think playing that role for some time is what will teach you things that you can never learn in any business school or in any sessions or certifications or trainings or wherever it is. I think that experience is what will differentiate you from what you were to what you will be in the future as well.
That's why I said you already touched upon it when you said in the some time back that it's like becoming a parent.
Yeah.
You can't know exactly what is to become a parent. Okay, before you become a parent, and that too not immediately when you become.
It's going to take some time.
Because you, even as a parent, you kind of bloom is a nice way to say, but also it's not easy. I know you are a parent already for quite some time, and of two lovely girls, so and similarly, you can't become a manager before you have become a manager. Yes, you can read a lot of stuff, a lot of books are there, but it's like explicit knowledge. Till you use the explicit knowledge and start applying it somewhere, it doesn't make you gain the tacit part of the knowledge. And tacit part of the knowledge is what you, I think, mentioned, that's what differentiates you also as one manager from another, or one leader from another leader, for example.
I think rightfully saying, if I've got to take a line off yours and say, this is exactly what I've been telling the entirety of population that I have been addressing in business schools and everywhere. What is the classic difference I see in people who are coming into the corporate world majorly is the application of knowledge. I know you've all learned this, but do you know where to apply it? And I think that, rightfully said, Amit, will classify you from being that one charismatic leader to a person who is filling the role of a managing director.
Yeah, that I today spend at least 30 to 40% of my time in a bit of management mentoring for companies overall. But what I really enjoy the most is when I'm engaged as a life coach or executive coach, right? And the why I enjoy it is because I basically help my clients to make a choice to apply the so-called theoretical knowledge into life.
A
lot of people already are doing it, but the experience that I have, life has offered me, for example, it helps me to make them, also make the resolute decision to build and maintain the resolve of actually then applying it. Right? And once they're start applying it over, this 2 or 3 sessions, it's the most the best gratification for me is that I see the smile becoming bigger and bigger. It's like, you are a master chef finalist, for example. It's when you first cook a nice dish, right? You are not sure how it will taste. This is how it should. But when you actually do it and then you offer it to some people, the tasters, whoever it is, and you see those smiles coming on their face.
Yeah.
That is when you feel, yes, I converted information to knowledge, which is explicit to tacit, and that is when finally actually leads you to creating a huge amount of
Absolutely relate to it. Yeah, I think
so I can relate to that.
Perfectly said.
I believe that, whether you are a Gen X or a millennial, you are actually more serious than others think of you or perceive.
Yeah.
And that is probably the reason you are searching. One of my guests said they are searching for a tribe. They're searching for people, with whom they can relate, right? So I bring a little difficult topic, and this is something because, I'm in my mid-60s, so I can't really say that I know exactly what happens or goes on with the younger millennials and Gen Zs, okay? Even my own children, they are already, millennials, right? So I asked around. I tried to get some inputs about before I went into this episodes with different leaders like you on this topic. And something a little bit which sounds disturbing, the perception or reality I want to check with you. So I hear that the Gen Zs, they do not like to become a part of a collective work culture. Is that true?
No, I don't think so. Again, there's a lot of socio-economic reasons that could contribute to it. So initially, it's going to take some more time for them to associate themselves with a group that does not perfectly align with their morals and principles. Maybe it will take them a longer time. And like say, I think just to take a sort of parallel example, Amit, when you grew up, most of your friends would be from work. Yeah, I have a social circle of my own, which has nothing to do with my work, and my daughter, who's currently working as well, has no connection whatsoever. I at least share some recipes with my colleagues, but she has a life that is like work and then her life. So there's no parallels that are drawn between that. I think that is also something that affects you to be a part of it. Something when it comes to the corporate world, right?
Right.
Yes, I am your team, but only when it comes to work. There's nothing more I want to discuss. But maybe over a period of time, they will have some kind of a bonding. Now we are trying within the HR domain, being a leader myself, we are trying a lot of ways of how we can bring that engagement within employees. How can I bring bonding? The clubs are coming back. What we used to have long ago. They're coming back, and now they are called with different names. Forget it. Employee value proposition, this and that. But basically, they're clubs. What do they do? So we launching in the company that I work as well. We're launching a lot of clubs. I am part of the cooking club as well.
Okay.
Because of my passion, and we have a badminton club, we have an arts club, we have a dance club. So many of these. Why? Because people with similar interests now are going to be a part of it, who are all part of the workforce.
Right.
Now, somewhere outside the work, I'm looking for something that will tie us together. So, it is coming back. It needs to come back, but it is not coming innately. So, it's being forcefully brought into the picture right now.
So, there's another perception, Krithika, that I would like to check upon. I mean, again, as I said, that I'm not sure whether it's a perception or a reality. That's what I want to check with you. That, and these feedbacks I've got from people who are not Gen Zs, they are millennials or Gen Xs primarily, right? Because I'm too far away, so I wanted to have those, inputs. So one of the disturbing things, maybe is this that that the Gen Zs are having a sense of entitlement, or maybe as a whole they have higher narcissistic needs. Is that true?
As I said, earlier we were part of a society.
Right.
Now we are slowly becoming into a society that's only me. So I don't know if we can name it narcissism anymore, because it's existing in everybody. Like everybody is having that entitlement.
So is it loneliness, or is it the choice to remain alone?
No, I think it's more awareness, saying that why should I when I don't have to.
It's like anti-status quoism.
Kind of. So it's like you have told me my work timings end at 5:30. Why should I answer your call at 6? Why? I'm not entitled. I mean, you not I don't have to.
Yeah.
So it's my time. It's my personal space.
Right.
So that, that, how do I say
Sense
that?
of righteousness or
Yeah, maybe to be in a very crude language, a little bit of being selfish, right? Like to think about yourself or to prioritize yourself more than
the collective.
the collective thing. I think that is where we're all heading to, and that is why we are trying to bring the more collaborative nature at work or at home or things
That's so
like that.
interesting. I mean, I remember, yeah, despite not being a Gen Z, and sometimes I feel that, oh, if I could only be, because it sounds so interesting. But you must have read, and I'm sure a lot of my younger viewers also must have read by now, the author Ayn Rand
Okay.
and the book Fountainhead. It is about individualism. It's about this selfishness being a virtue.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, if you have not read her, also for the viewers, I'm sure some of them have read. Ayn Rand wrote and published his novels in 1940s.
Okay.
1946 to be exact, Fountainhead was published. It is still in print.
Oh, okay.
Ayn Rand is no more. Okay. And when I read it, it really left a mark on me as a 19-year-old. And I kept on talking about selfishness being a virtue and about being an individual. Of course, she was also about capitalism, etc., against socialism. You know, she was an immigrant from Russia.
Okay.
Okay, and her family had lost a lot because of the Russian Revolution, etc. So she was obviously anti-socialism or capital communism and all that. But my point is that I went through a period where just because for me selfishness is a virtue was a virtue, okay, and when I spoke about this to people, even till in the last 10 years back when I was still active, okay, they found it very shocking.
Yeah.
Because in our society, to be a do-gooder, to be a good human being means that you are not selfish.
Yeah.
Okay. But for me, selfishness was like that I have to take care of myself first, then only I can take care of somebody else. Like in our garden, we have a palm tree, and there are a lot of, my wife puts this, creepers around it, and they creep around the palm tree. Now, if the palm tree was not selfish enough to be strong, okay, it could not have supported any of the creepers around it.
Okay.
So that's how actually I applied it for my own life. And although I'm not a Gen Z, I'm very far away as a baby boomer by the American labels. So that reminds me that, that's why I wanted to check whether these are perceptions or realities, because you can read somebody as wants to keep himself or herself alone, and others may feel, oh, he's so lonely.
Yeah.
But he actually wants this me time.
Yeah.
I just got this difference between alone and lonely yesterday only from my good friend Vinay, and it stayed with me because I still absorb what is new and what is meaningful to me, for example. So there are also there's another question that I want to ask you, which is about the impact on the parents of the Gen Zs, because I also hear about Gen Zs going through these challenges like drug abuse or suicides, for example. In the apartment I live in, there was a young boy who jumped from a 14th floor balcony, and the parents had no clue why.
Okay.
And the parents are well-to-do, they have a nice apartment, number of cars, everything. The child had everything, but obviously didn't have something very, very important. Otherwise, why should a child do this?
Yeah.
Right? So these things are also realities, for example. And so therefore, my question to you is that how does, whether it's a perception or reality, how does this impact the parents, and what should probably the parents do?
I think from a corporate perspective, right, Amit, when these parents are having children who come and talk back about work, there are some of them who have the maturity or the understanding to say, you know what, yes, you are expecting this, but maybe your expectations are not in the right frame, which will then let that person maybe question saying, okay, if somebody else is telling me that this perspective is not right, maybe it is not right. Maybe why don't we try something new? maybe it is not bad, that what we faced is not failure or is not end of the world. However, if your parents are going to say, yeah, it shouldn't have happened, and they think they're empathizing with you, but they're actually feeding into that fire. What happens is you then now portray that as an even bigger failure or an even bigger problem to deal with, or a challenge that you don't know what to do with.
Right.
Or you feel that your manager at work is a monster. So I think it's very important that the social circle around that person, whether it is friends or it is parents, that influence also matters for them to be able to perceive it and take it further. So I think there a lot of the pressure comes from people around you and their opinions. So although we are moving into a very selfish mode, right? I think this selfishness as a virtue has been a virtue in the Western world for far longer than when it has come down to our
culture. American world.
Yeah, especially as it comes to the Indian culture. Having worked in the UK, I think, stepping out at the age of 16 and then the government supporting you living on your own terms, even if your father could be a millionaire, but you are still, on your own and you struggle to make ends meet, it's your challenge. Right. You might inherit it at some point, but it's not a given. Whereas in our society, it is not that way.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, so that selfishness has to be a virtue, because now you have to feed yourself. You have to think about yourself, etc., etc. However, it was not like that in our culture. And even today, separating it from our culture is very difficult.
Yes.
As a parent, it doesn't matter. If my daughter wants to go for a holiday and she can't afford it, I will pay for it. It is not like you have to manage your own. So I think we have been in that culture for far too long, but we are moving away from it as well. I don't know if it is for our good or not, but
thank you for saying that, for sure, because both you mentioned about the UK, and I spent a long time working with Germans, and Germany is exactly one of the early industrially developed countries, and this is what exactly happened there too. And this has happened over 200 years, 300 years. In our case, all this change is happening, and this is like a disruption in the society and the societal relationships. And obviously, whom we refer to as Gen Zs or Millennials, they have to fend for their own, because nobody, you don't have a, a question answer book that you can refer to, even with all the AIs versions that you have, to answer questions that others have not yet answered. Right?
Yeah.
So it's about data. So data is about what is already known. It's not about what you have to yourself discover and find your way. But that brings me to this point that, when this selfishness becomes a virtue or is a virtue is when there are distances, between you and your family or parents, grandparents. That doesn't mean that they are not there, they're there. And that is what we see in the bigger cities and in the societies we live. There are too many young people working, for example, who maybe Gen Zs or maybe early millennials, and they have come far from their hometowns. Their parents are left behind there. The grandparents are left behind. They don't have anybody to talk to, like probably, if I may include you, maybe not too much, but you also spend a lot of time in your already working on your own in the UK when you were studying as well as working. But like in my generation, you always lived with your parents.
Yeah.
For example, and when I moved from Delhi to Bangalore, for example, my parents also moved with me. Okay. There was no question, and this was granted that if I'm moving, you are moving for sure. But today it's a different world. Economics has changed a lot of, for example, rules or requirements and needs. Even the wants have become needs, the desires have become wants, and all that kind of stuff. What kind of leadership style works with this younger millennials or Gen Zs? Different, or how would you?
I think leadership style more depends on the leader itself. And yes, on the target audience, but I don't know if I will be able to classify it based on generations. So if you were to ask me what my leadership style would be, that I would really classify into three. There's a really wise man that has mentored and coached me in the past, and I've learned it from him. And we actually practice it day in and day out. However, classifying it this way probably might help a lot of people to understand a lot of things. So what I follow again, some
You can also
relation
speak
to
to the audience.
Vedic scriptures.
Okay.
I classify it into the Ram, Krishna, and the Buddha styles of leadership. So how do I define it? Meaning, say when I am talking about Ram, it talks about when you're leading a set of people who don't know what to do. Okay, so you take the stone, you identify what stone it is, and you go and show them how to place that stone and where to place it
Okay.
in order to build the bridge. And then the rest of them will follow suit to ensure that they complete the bridge for you. Okay, so there you roll up your sleeves, get your hands dirty, and teach them how to do it. That way, you can get what you need at the end of the project, or a deadline, or a task, or anything it may be. So that's one set of people
Right.
who needs a lot of hand holding to complete the task. Then you move on to a set of people. They could be millennials or they could be Gen Zs as well, but people who know what they have to do because they've been trained for it. There you adapt and take on the virtue of being a Krishna. You are driving the chariot and you're standing there and you're only telling them what is right from what is wrong. Saying doing this these are the pros and cons of each of the things. Now the direction is laid. Now you can do it. You know how Krishna advises Arjuna, to take on the battle. So at there, sometimes you become Krishna and you tell them, hey, this is how I want the project to look like and this is what I want them to do. However, I don't go and show them. I don't roll up my sleeves and do it for them.
Is that also about like clarifying the question, answer to the question why?
Yes, you'll have to get their buy-in and you will have to make them believe what you believe as well.
Also.
The art of communication definitely helps. And then the third, which is what you ideally should be doing if you're in the top management, is be a Buddha. You hire subject matter experts for the reason they are subject matter experts. Don't intervene. Don't tell them what to do. Don't tell them how to do it or anything like that. Just sit back, let them go ahead and do it. And if they fall, be there to hold their hands, lift them up, and say, maybe you can course correct yourself. Just a very minimal guidance or intervention into their work is being a Buddha. So, can I be one of these? No. Can I be one of these with one set of people and another one with another set of people? No. I could have a set of millennial population where I need to be Rama in certain stages, Buddha in certain, and Krishna in certain. And the same will apply for Gen Z as well. I think a combination of all these three and knowing when to use what, the application like we spoke about, is what will classify you from being a manager and being a leader. I think that works for me.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much. In fact, this reminded me of my time when I used to write. It used to be prominently written on my whiteboard in my office that context is the boss.
Okay.
Okay. And since from the classical way, I was the so-called boss of the company, but I wrote context is the boss because your leadership style, what I understood from your explanation, is determined by the context you lead in. Okay, not by, for example, what is the best leadership style or not, because any leadership style can be actually horrible if you are not fitting the context.
Exactly.
So it depends on the context, and this was a very good example. This was new for me. Thank you very much, Krithika. Absolutely. So maybe my last question or last topic is, you can decide it for the viewers whether it's like a nice wine with a nice bouquet or not. But and I'm not talking from wishful thinking or optimism. See, anyway, the cohort of the Gen Zs or the younger millennials are going to lead the future. There is nothing romantic or fictional about it, right? They will be. So whether they like it or not, they will still be.
Yeah.
Right? And I think things that you explained in the beginning, that once they become a manager, once we become a parent or to become a team lead, they will learn what they have to learn, like probably all of us actually.
Yeah.
So there is no big deal about whether you are a Gen Z today. You are a Gen Z today or a millennial today. You will be the baby boomer, day after tomorrow. Anyway, you have no choice.
Yeah.
Right? You can't run away unless you join Elon Musk and get onto some rocket which probably explodes somewhere. But my question is that, do you believe that they will actually probably become this again using the same metaphor of a wine. I love good wine. Sorry to say, not sorry to say, but sorry to admit on a public, but I did. So that they will become different kinds of wines with different beautiful bouquets, the nose and the look, and not necessarily like the wines we already know. Yeah. So what would be your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's very similar to the same, aspect of thinking, Amit. There are different recipes because I love food. Let's take that context. Um, there's a lot of traditional recipes
Yeah.
which we all enjoy and which we love to go back to.
Yeah.
However, are we going to say no to fusion? That's going to come up. No, we're not. Are they not going to capture anybody's heart? We can't say for sure. There will be a target audience who will love that kind of food. And it is going to happen. That experimentation is going to continuously happen, and that evolution is going to happen. There's no stopping it.
Right.
And I think primarily as human beings, we are evolving. And we will evolve based on whatever's happening. Yesterday, we did not have the technology, so we used what was helping then. I used to write love letters. I didn't have emails and WhatsApp and text messages those days. But today, when we do, that is the form of context that today's population will use, right?
Yeah.
So we evolve over a period of time, and I think just similar to that, we will have those perfect aged wines coming up and leading us. I think eventually we will all evolve to understand that that is the right thing for the society at any given point in time. But I do believe in Kali Yuga as well, and I believe that we are heading for that.
No, I mean, that's a beautiful note that you kind of ended your thought on. Yes, I wouldn't say I believe in Kali Yuga, but I do believe that Kali Yugas come and pass. It's like a many sigmoid curves that
Okay.
you have, right? Of course, you can't predict what will be the length of the trough of the sigmoid curve, or what will be the amplitude of the crest.
Okay.
You can't.
Yeah.
But you can at least, contribute towards increasing the amplitude of the crest, for example, and decreasing that of the trough.
Yeah.
Or decreasing the, what do you call it, the wavelength or whatever it is. I was never good at science that much. But I think that's it. But it's a roller coaster. Evolution means that you go through a roller coaster if you are yourself a player in that. And of course, there are people, like my generation who are viewing all this from probably, where we are hopefully not fixated upon, but where we come from. So it could be quite natural also for the older generation, and to have a lens through which they see only what is being seen today, and of course, on both sides of the lens, the younger one and the older ones. We should not forget that the younger ones will become older ones of tomorrow, and they will have to manage the gen, I don't know, theta and gamma and whatnot, coming next, for example. So thank you very much, Krithika. Thank you very much for your thoughts and for your bringing in the wisdom that being a practicing leader, obviously, you today have earned and you're practicing it. And more to that, and thank you for being who you are. And thank you for your time very much. So, viewers, I hope you enjoyed this episode on managing millennials and Gen Zs. There is more to come. Please subscribe to my channel, The Missing Link with Amit. Also, please drop in comments. And for most important for me, if you can drop in questions or opinions that challenges whatever you hear from us, any of us. That will be really, really useful for me and my guests and my team over here. Thank you very much.